Chapter 5 of Behind a Mask. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Elizabeth Clatt. Behind a Mask, or A Woman's Power, by Louisa May Alcott. Chapter 5. How the Girl Did It. At home he found a party of young friends, who hailed with delight the prospect of a revel at the Hall. An hour later the blithe company trooped into the great saloon, where preparations had already been made for a dramatic evening. Good Sir John was in his element, for he was never so happy as when his house was full of young people. Several persons were chosen, and in a few moments the curtains were withdrawn from the first of these impromptu tableaux. A swarthy, darkly bearded man lay asleep on a tiger-skin in the shadow of a tent. Oriental arms and drapery surrounded him. An antique silver lamp burned dimly on a table where fruit lay heaped in costly dishes, and wine shone redly in half-emptied goblets. Bending over the sleeper was a woman robed with barbaric splendour. One hand turned back the embroidered sleeve from the arm which held a scimitar. One slender foot in a scarlet sandal was visible under the white tunic. Her purple mantle swept down from snowy shoulders. Fillets of gold bound her hair, and jewels shone on neck and arms. She was looking over her shoulder toward the entrance of the tent, with a steady yet stealthy look, so effective that for a moment the spectators held their breath, as if they also heard a passing footstep. "Who is it?" whispered Lucia, for the face was new to her. "Jean Muir," answered Coventry, with an absorbed look. "Impossible! She is small and fair," began Lucia, but a hasty "Hush, let me look," from her cousin silenced her. Impossible as it seemed, he was right nevertheless, for Jean Muir it was. She had darkened her skin, painted her eyebrows, disposed some wild black locks over her fair hair, and thrown such an intensity of expression into her eyes that they darkened and dilated till they were as fierce as any southern eyes that ever flashed. Hatred, the deepest and bitterest, was written on her sternly beautiful face. Courage glowed in her glance, power spoke in the nervous grip of the slender hand that held the weapon, and the indomitable will of the woman was expressed, even the firm pressure of the little foot, half hidden in the tiger-skin. "Oh, isn't she splendid?" cried Bella under her breath. "She looks as if she'd use her sword well when the time comes," said someone admiringly. "Good night to Holofernes, his fate is certain," added another. "He is the image of Sydney with that beard on." "Doesn't she look as if she really hated him?" "Perhaps she does." Coventry uttered the last exclamation, for the two which preceded it suggested an explanation of the marvellous change in Jean. It was not all art. The intense detestation mingled with a savage joy that the object of her hatred was in her power was too perfect to be feigned, and having the key to a part of her story, Coventry felt as if he caught a glimpse of the truth. It was but a glimpse, however, for the curtain dropped before he had half analyzed the significance of that strange face. "Horrible! I'm glad it's over," said Lucia coldly. "Magnificent! Encore, encore!" cried Gerald enthusiastically. But the scene was over, and no applause could recall the actress. 2 or 3 graceful or gay pictures followed, but Jean was in none, and each lacked the charm which real talent lends to the simplest part. "Coventry, you are wanted," called a voice, and to everyone's surprise Coventry went, though heretofore he had always refused to exert himself when handsome actors were in demand. "What part am I to spoil?" he asked, as he entered the green room, where several excited young gentlemen were costuming and attitudinizing. "A fugitive cavalier. Put yourself into this suit, and lose no time asking questions. Miss Muir will tell you what to do. She is in the tableau, so no one will mind you," said the manager pro tem, throwing a rich old suit towards Coventry, and resuming the painting of a moustache on his own boyish face. A gallant cavalier was the result of Gerald's hasty toilet, and when he appeared before the ladies, a general glance of admiration was bestowed upon him. come along and be placed. Jean is ready on the stage." And Bella ran before him, exclaiming to her governess, "Here he is, quite splendid. Wasn't he good to do it?" Miss Muir, in the charmingly prim and puritanical dress of a Roundhead damsel, was arranging some shrubs, but turned suddenly and dropped the green branch she held, as her eye met the glittering figure advancing toward her. "You!" she said with a troubled look, adding low to Bella, "Why did you ask him? I begged you not." "He is the only handsome man here, and the best actor, if he likes. He won't play usually, so make the most of him." And Bella was off to finish powdering her hair for the marriage à la mode.
"I was sent for, and I came. Do you prefer some other person?" asked Coventry, at a loss to understand the half anxious, half eager expression of the face under the little cap. It changed to one of mingled annoyance and resignation as she said, "It is too late. Please kneel here, half behind the shrubs. Put down your hat, and allow me, you are too elegant for a fugitive." As he knelt before her, she dishevelled his hair, pulled his lace collar awry, threw away his gloves and sword, and half untied the cloak that hung about his shoulders. "That is better. Your paleness is excellent. Nay, don't spoil it. We are to represent the picture which hangs in the hall. I need tell you no more. Now, Roundheads, place yourselves, and then ring up the curtain." With a smile, Coventry obeyed her, for the picture was of two lovers, the young cavalier kneeling with his arm around the waist of the girl, who tries to hide him with her little mantle, and presses his head to her bosom in an ecstasy of fear, as she glances back at the approaching pursuers. Jean hesitated an instant, and shrank a little as his hand touched her. She blushed deeply, and her eyes fell before his. Then, as the bell rang, she threw herself into her part with sudden spirit. One arm half covered him with her cloak, the other pillowed his head on the muslin kerchief folded over her bosom, and she looked backward with such terror in her eyes that more than one chivalrous young spectator longed to hurry to the rescue. It lasted but a moment, yet in that moment Coventry experienced another new sensation. Many women had smiled on him, but he had remained heart-whole, cool and careless, quite unconscious of the power which a woman possesses and knows how to use, for the weal or woe of a man. Now, as he knelt there with a soft arm about him, a slender waist yielding to his touch, and a maiden heart throbbing against his cheek, for the first time in his life he felt the indescribable spell of womanhood, and looked the ardent lover to perfection. Just as his face assumed this new and most becoming aspect, the curtain dropped, and clamorous encores recalled him to the fact that Miss Muir was trying to escape from his hold, which had grown painful in its unconscious pressure. He sprang up, bewildered, and looking as he had never looked before. "Again, again!"
cried Sir John, and the young men who played the Roundheads, eager to share in the applause, begged for a repetition in new attitudes.
"A rustle has betrayed you. We have fired and shot the brave girl, and she lies dying, you know. That will be effective. Try it, Miss Muir," said one, and with a long breath Jean complied. The curtain went up, showing the lover still on his knees, unmindful of the captors who clutched him by the shoulder, for at his feet the girl lay dying. Her head was on his breast, now her eyes looked full into his, no longer wild with fear, but eloquent with the love which even death could not conquer. The power of those tender eyes thrilled Coventry with a strange delight, and set his heart beating as rapidly as hers had done. She felt his hands tremble, saw the color flash into his cheek, knew that she had touched him at last, and when she rose it was with a sense of triumph which she found it hard to conceal. Others thought it fine acting, Coventry tried to believe so, but Lucia set her teeth, and as the curtain fell on that second picture, she left her place to hurry behind the scenes, bent on putting an end to such dangerous play. Several actors were complimenting the mimic lovers. Jean took it merrily, but Coventry, in spite of himself, betrayed that he was excited by something deeper than mere gratified vanity. As Lucia appeared, his manner changed to its usual indifference, but he could not quite quench the unwonted fire of his eyes, or keep all trace of emotion out of his face, and she saw this with a sharp pang. "I have come to offer my help. You must be tired, Miss Muir. Can I relieve you?" asked Lucia hastily. "Yes, thank you. I shall be very glad to leave the rest to you, and enjoy them from the front." So with a sweet smile Jean tripped away, and to Lucia's dismay, Coventry followed. "I want you, Gerald, please stay," she cried. "I've done my part. No more tragedy for tonight." And he was gone before she could entreat or command. There was no help for it, she must stay and do her duty, or expose her jealousy to the quick eyes about her. For a time she bore it, but the sight of her cousin leaning over the chair she had left and chatting with the governess, who now filled it, grew unbearable, and she dispatched a little girl with a message to Miss Muir.
"Please, Miss Beaufort wants you for Queen Bess, as you are the only lady with red hair. Will you come?" whispered the child, quite unconscious of any hidden sting in her words. "Yes, dear, willingly, though I'm not stately enough for her Majesty, nor handsome enough," said Jean, rising with an untroubled face, though she resented the feminine insult. "Do you want an Essex? I'm all dressed for it," said Coventry, following to the door with a wistful look. "No, Miss Beaufort said you were not to come. She doesn't want you both together," said the child decidedly.
Jean gave him a significant look, shrugged her shoulders, and went away smiling her odd smile, while Coventry paced up and down the hall in a curious state of unrest, which made him forgetful of everything till the young people came gaily out to supper.
"Come, bonny Prince Charlie, take me down, and play the lover as charmingly as you did an hour ago. I never thought you had so much warmth in you," said Bella, taking his arm and drawing him on against his will.
"Don't be foolish, child. Where is Lucia?" Why he checked Jean's name on his lips and substituted another's, he could not tell, but a sudden shyness in speaking of her possessed him, and though he saw her nowhere, he would not ask for her. His cousin came down looking lovely in a classical costume, but Gerald scarcely saw her, and when the merriment was at its height, he slipped away to discover what had become of Miss Muir. Alone in the deserted drawing-room he found her, and paused to watch her a moment before he spoke, for something in her attitude and face struck him. She was leaning wearily back in the great chair which had served for a throne. Her royal robes were still unchanged, though the crown was off and all her fair hair hung about her shoulders. Excitement and exertion made her brilliant, the rich dress became her wonderfully, and an air of luxurious indolence changed the meek governess into a charming woman. She leaned on the velvet cushions as if she were used to such support. She played with the jewels which had crowned her as carelessly as if she were born to wear them. Her attitude was full of negligent grace, and the expression of her face half proud, half pensive, as if her thoughts were bitter-sweet. One would know she was well born to see her now. Poor girl, what a burden the life of dependence must be to a spirit like hers. I wonder what she is thinking of so intently. And Coventry indulged in another look before he spoke. Shall I bring you some supper, Miss Muir?
"Supper?" she ejaculated with a start. "Who thinks of one's body when one's soul is—" She stopped there, knit her brows, and laughed faintly as she added, "No, thank you. I want nothing but advice, and that I dare not ask of anyone."
"Why not?"
"Because I have no right."
"Everyone has a right to ask help, especially the weak of the strong. Can I help you? Believe me, I most heartily offer my poor services."
"Ah, you forget. This dress, the borrowed splendor of these jewels, the freedom of this gay evening, the romance of the part you played, all blind you to the reality. For a moment I cease to be a servant, and for a moment you treat me as an equal."
It was true, he had forgotten. That soft, reproachful glance touched him, his distrust melted under the new charm, and he answered with real feeling in voice and face, "I treat you as an equal because you are one, and when I offered help, it is not to my sister's governess alone, but to Lady Howard's daughter."
"Who told you that?"
she demanded, sitting erect. "My uncle. Do not reproach him. It shall go no further if you forbid it. Are you sorry that I know it?"
"Yes."
Why? Because I will not be pitied. And her eyes flashed as she made a half-defiant gesture. Then, if I may not pity the hard fate which has befallen an innocent life, may I admire the courage which meets adverse fortune so bravely, and conquers the world by winning the respect and regard of all who see and honor it. Miss Muir averted her face, put up her hand, and answered hastily, No, no, not that. Do not be kind. It destroys the only barrier now left between us. Be cold to me as before, forget what I am, and let me go on my way, unknown, unpitied, and unloved. Her voice faltered and failed as the last word was uttered, and she bent her face upon her hand. Something jarred upon Coventry in this speech, and moved him to say, almost rudely, You need have no fears for me. Lucia will tell you what an iceberg I am. Then Lucia would tell me wrong. I have the fatal power of reading character. I know you better than she does, and I see. There she stopped abruptly. What? Tell me, and prove your skill, he said eagerly. Turning, she fixed her eyes on him with a penetrating power that made him shrink as she said slowly, Under the ice I see fire, and warn you to beware, lest it prove a volcano. For a moment he sat dumb, wondering at the insight of the girl, for she was the first to discover the hidden warmth of a nature too proud to confess its tender impulses, or the ambitions that slept till some potent voice awoke them. The blunt, almost stern manner in which he warned him away from her only made her more attractive, for there was no conceit or arrogance in it, only a foreboding fear emboldened by past suffering to be frank. Suddenly he spoke impetuously. You are right. I am not what I seem, and my indolent indifference is but the mask under which I conceal my true self. I could be as passionate, as energetic and aspiring as Ned if I had any aim in life. I have none, and so I am what you once called me, a thing to pity and despise. I never said that, cried Jean indignantly. Not in those words, perhaps, but you looked it and thought it, though you phrased it more mildly. I deserved it, but I shall deserve it no longer. I am beginning to wake from my disgraceful idleness, and long for some work that shall make a man of me. Why do you go? I annoy you with my confessions. Pardon me, they are the first I ever made. They shall be the last. No, oh no, I am too much honoured by your confidence. But is it wise, is it loyal to tell me your hopes and aims? Has not Miss Beaufort the first right to be your confidante? Coventry drew back, looking intensely annoyed, for the name recalled much that he would gladly have forgotten in the novel excitement of the hour. Lucia's love, Edward's parting words, his own reserve so strangely thrown aside, so difficult to resume. What he would have said was checked by the sight of a half-open letter which fell from Jean's dress as she moved away. Mechanically he took it up to return it, and as he did so, he recognized Sydney's handwriting. Jean snatched it from him, turning pale to the lips as she cried, "Did you read it? What did you see? Tell me on your honour." "On my honour, I saw nothing but this single sentence. By the love I bear you, believe what I say. No more, as I am a gentleman. I know the hand, I guess the purport of the letter, and as a friend of Sydney I earnestly desire to help you if I can. Is this the matter upon which you want advice?" "Yes." "Then let me give it." "You cannot, without knowing all, and it is so hard to tell." "Let me guess it, and spare you the pain of telling. May I?" And Coventry waited eagerly for her reply, for the spell was still upon him. Holding the letter fast, she beckoned him to follow, and glided before him to a secluded little nook, half boudoir, half conservatory. There she paused, stood an instant as if in doubt, then looked up at him with confiding eyes, and said decidedly, "I will do it, for strange as it may seem, you are the only person to whom I can speak. You know, Sydney, you have discovered that I am an equal, you have offered your help. I accept it, but oh, do not think me unwomanly. Remember how alone I am, how young, and how much I rely upon your sincerity, your sympathy."
"Speak freely. I am indeed your friend."
And Coventry sat down beside her, forgetful of everything but the soft-eyed girl who confided in him so entirely. Speaking rapidly, Jean went on.
"You know that Sydney loved me, that I refused him and went away. But you do not know that his importunities nearly drove me wild, that he threatened to rob me of my only treasure, my good name, and that in desperation I tried to kill myself. Yes, mad, wicked as it was, I did long to end the life which was at best a burden, and under his persecution had become a torment. You were shocked. Yet what I say is the living truth. Lady Sydney will confirm it. The nurses at the hospital will confess that it was not a fever which brought me there. And here, though the external wound is healed, my heart still aches and burns with shame and indignation, which only a proud woman can feel."
She paused and sat with kindling eyes, glowing cheeks, and both hands pressed to her heaving bosom, as if the old insult roused her spirit anew. Coventry said not a word, for surprise, anger, incredulity, and admiration mingled so confusedly in his mind that he forgot to speak, and Jean went on.
"That wild act of mine convinced him of my indomitable dislike. He went away, and I believed that this stormy love of his would be cured by absence. It is not, and I live in daily fear of fresh entreaties, renewed persecution. His mother promised not to betray where I had gone, but he found me out, and wrote to me. The letter I asked you to take to Lady Sydney was a reply to his, imploring him to leave me in peace. You failed to deliver it, and I was glad, for I thought silence might quench hope. All in vain. This is a more passionate appeal than ever, and he vows he will never desist from his endeavours till I give another man the right to protect me. I can do this. I am sorely tempted to do it, but I rebel against the cruelty. I love my freedom. I have no wish to marry at this man's bidding. What can I do? How can I free myself? Be my friend and help me."
Tears streamed down her cheeks, sobs choked her words, and she clasped her hands imploringly as she turned toward the young man in all the abandonment of sorrow, fear, and supplication. Coventry found it hard to meet those eloquent eyes and answer calmly, for he had no experience in such scenes, and knew not how to play his part.
"It is this absurd dress and that romantic nonsense which makes me feel so unlike myself," he thought,
quite unconscious of the dangerous power which the dusky room, the midsummer warmth and fragrance, the memory of the romantic nonsense, and most of all the presence of a beautiful, afflicted woman had over him. His usual self-possession deserted him, and he could only echo the words which had made the strongest impression upon him.
"You can do this. You are tempted to do it. Is Ned the man who can protect you?"
"No," was the soft reply.
"Who then?"
"Do not ask me. A good and honourable man, one who loves me well, and would devote his life to me, one whom it once would have been happiness to marry, but now—"
There her voice ended in a sigh, and all her fair hair fell down about her face, hiding it in a shining veil.
"Why not now? This is a sure and speedy way of ending your distress. Is it impossible?"
In spite of himself, Gerald leaned nearer, took one of the little hands in his, and pressed it as he spoke, urgently, compassionately, nay, almost tenderly. From behind the veil came a heavy sigh, and the brief answer, "It is impossible."
"Why, Jean?"
She flung back her hair with a sudden gesture, drew away her hand, and answered almost fiercely,
"Because I do not love him. Why do you torment me with such questions? I tell you I am in a sore strait, and cannot see my way. Shall I deceive the good man, and secure peace at the price of liberty and truth? Or shall I defy Sydney, and lead a life of dread? If he menaced my life, I should not fear, but he menaces that which is dearer than my life, my good name. A look, a word can tarnish it, a scornful smile, a significant shrug can do me more harm than any blow. For I am a woman, friendless, poor, and at the mercy of his tongue. Ah, better to have died, and so have been saved the bitter pain that has come now."
She sprang up,
clasped her hands over her head, and paced despairingly through the little room, not weeping, but wearing an expression more tragical than tears. Still feeling as if he had suddenly stepped into a romance, yet finding a keen pleasure in the part assigned him, Coventry threw himself into it with spirit, and heartily did his best to console the poor girl who needed help so much. Going to her, he said as impetuously as Ned ever did, "Miss Muir, nay, I will say Jean, if that will comfort you. Listen, and rest assured that no harm shall touch you if I can ward it off. You are needlessly alarmed. Indignant you may well be, but upon my life I think you wrong Sydney. He is violent, I know, but he is too honourable a man to injure you by a light word, an unjust act. He did but threaten, hoping to soften you. Let me see him, or write to him. He is my friend, he will listen to me, of that I am sure." "Be sure of nothing. When a man like Sydney loves and is thwarted in his love, nothing can control his headstrong will. Promise me you will not see him or write to him. Much as I fear and despise him, I will submit rather than any harm should befall you or your brother. You promise me, Mr. Coventry?" He hesitated. She clung to his arm with unfeigned solicitude in her eager, pleading face, and he could not resist it. "I promise. But in return you must promise to let me give what help I can. And, Jean, never say again that you are friendless." "You are so kind. God bless you for it. But I dare not accept your friendship. She will not permit it, and I have no right to mar her peace." "Who will not permit it?" he demanded hotly. "Miss Beaufort." "Hang Miss Beaufort!" exclaimed Coventry, with such energy that Jean broke into a musical laugh, despite her trouble. He joined in it, and for an instant they stood looking at one another as if the last barrier were down, and they were friends indeed. Jean paused suddenly, with the smile on her lips, the tears still on her cheek, and made a warning gesture. He listened. The sound of feet mingled with calls and laughter proved that they were missed and sought. "That laugh betrayed us. Stay and meet them. I cannot." And Jean darted out upon the lawn. Coventry followed, for the thought of confronting so many eyes, so many questions, daunted him, and he fled like a coward. The sound of Jean's flying footsteps guided him, and he overtook her just as she paused behind a rose thicket to take breath. "Faint-hearted knight, you should have stayed and covered my retreat. Hark! They are coming. Hide, hide!" she panted, half in fear, half in merriment, as the gay pursuers rapidly drew nearer. "Kneel down. The moon is coming out, and the glitter of your embroidery will betray you," whispered Jean, as they cowered behind the roses. "Your arms and hair will betray you. Come under my plaidie, as the song says." And Coventry tried to make his velvet cloak cover the white shoulders and fair locks. "We are acting our parts in reality now. How Bella will enjoy the thing when I tell her," said Jean, as the noises died away. "Do not tell her," whispered Coventry. "And why not?" she asked, looking up into the face so near her own, with an artless glance. "Can you not guess why?" "Ah, you are so proud you cannot bear to be laughed at." "It is not that. It is because I do not want you to be annoyed by silly tongues. You have enough to pain you without that. I am your friend now, and I do my best to prove it." "So kind, so kind. How can I thank you?" murmured Jean, and she involuntarily nestled closer under the cloak that sheltered both. Neither spoke for a moment, and in the silence the rapid beating of two hearts was heard. To drown the sound, Coventry said softly, "Are you frightened?" "No, I like it," she answered, as softly, then added abruptly, "But why do we hide? There is nothing to fear. It is late. I must go. You're kneeling on my train. Please rise." "Why in such haste? This flight and search only adds to the charm of the evening. I'll not get up yet. Will you have a rose, Jean?" "No, I will not. Let me go, Mr. Coventry, I insist. There has been enough of this folly. You forget yourself." She spoke imperiously, flung off the cloak, and put him from her. He rose at once, saying, like one waking suddenly from a pleasant dream,
I do indeed forget myself."
Here the sound of voices broke on them, nearer than before. Pointing to a covered walk that led to the house, he said in his usually cool, calm tone,
"Go in that way. I will cover your retreat."
And turning, he went to meet the merry hunters. Half an hour later, when the party broke up, Miss Muir joined them in her usual quiet dress, looking paler, meeker, and sadder than usual. Coventry saw this, though he neither looked at her nor addressed her. Lucia saw it also, and was glad that the dangerous girl had fallen back into her proper place again, for she had suffered much that night. She appropriated her cousin's arm as they went through the park, but he was in one of his taciturn moods, and all her attempts at conversation were in vain. Miss Muir walked alone, singing softly to herself as she followed in the dusk. Was Gerald so silent because he listened to that fitful song? Lucia thought so, and felt her dislike rapidly deepening to hatred. When the young friends were gone, and the family were exchanging good nights among themselves, Jean was surprised by Coventry's offering his hand, for he had never done it before, and whispering as he held it, though Lucia watched him all the while,
"I have not given my advice yet."
"Thanks, I no longer need it. I have decided for myself."
"May I ask how?"
"To brave my enemy."
"Good. But what decided you so suddenly?"
"The finding of a friend."
And with a grateful glance, she was gone. End of chapter 5.